For the next 9 months, we're going to be talking a lot about Georgia's offensive line. After a really tough 2024 season for a group that is normally elite, the question has to be asked, how does this team get better? Who are going to be the new starters? Could they be better than they were in 2024? And at the end of the day, how do we fix it? Because they couldn't run the ball, they were getting pushed backwards, and it didn't look like the normal Georgia offensive line that goes out and beats teams up front week after week after week. They did not do that this past year, and they certainly didn't do it against Notre Dame. So I think one of the questions is, was it the coaches? Was it the players? I know everyone watching this video is going to blame Stacy Searles, but there's a chance that this group could be pretty good again. I'm going to explain why. So there are missing a few guys, right? Dylan Fairchild is gone. Center Jared Wilson is off to the NFL. Tate Ratledge off to the NFL. Xavier Truss off to the NFL. So they're replacing a lot of guys, but a lot of those guys have starting experience. Now, let's start at center real quick. I'm going to talk about the guys that you can halfway pencil in to Georgia's offensive line for next season. And the first guy, I think, is Drew Bobo. I think he'll be your starting center next year. He played in all 13 games and made starts against Auburn and Mississippi State. And if you remember those games, Georgia moved the football in those games, and they put up some points on the scoreboard. Drew Bobo is a solid center, and I think a lot of SEC teams and other major programs would love to have a guy like him in year 4 with that size, that versatility, as their center. So I think Georgia's got a pretty good one for next year. And again, he's played a lot, and I think that's going to be your center for next year. At guard, Micah Morris at left guard, I'm going to plug him right in there. Now, it'll be his 5th year next year. He was in that 21 class, so unless he does something crazy and enters the portal or enters the NFL draft with barely any tape, I think Micah Morris, who is solid. I mean, I watched him in high school. That dude is a mauler. He's physically built, and the only reason he wasn't playing, in my opinion, from what I gathered, is because he just wasn't as good as Dylan Fairchild, who was going to get drafted. So Micah Morris, coming back for a 5th year from everything I've gathered, I'd slide him into that left guard spot. He played in 11 of 13 games this past year, made 5 starts. So he is a guy that knows what he's doing. He's been around for a while, and he has starting experience. So I think that's a pretty solid left guard there for the Dogs in 2025. Left tackle, probably going to be Ernest Green. There again, he played in 10 games, made 9 starts. He was the left tackle entering the season, and all offseason, I thought this could be the year in year 3 where Ernest Green takes that next step and becomes one of the best left tackles in college football. He was a top 55 prospect out of high school. He's got size, moves really well, was pretty good as a sophomore in 2023. I thought he had the potential to, if he kept developing, be one of the best left tackles in college football. It felt like he took a step back. He was injured here and there too, but also it just didn't look like he was playing as well as he was last year. So blame whoever you want, blame Stacy Searles, but to have a guy regress, I think you have to look at coaching. But at the end of the day, I'm not an offensive line guru. I'm not an offensive line concepts guy. I'm not talking about offensive line play and strategy and all that, right? I know what I can't talk about, and that's it. So even, at the high school level, covering, offensive linemen, I always have to ask for help and ask the guys who really know what they're talking about in the trenches about guys. But Ernest Green, I think, will probably be your left tackle again. And again, he's got starting experience. And if he has a big offseason, I think he could get back to where I thought he could possibly be, if that makes sense. Didn't really sound well coming out of my mouth, but stay with me here. Stay with me. Another guy to keep an eye on, obviously, Monroe Freeling, who took over for Ernest Green at that left tackle spot later in the season, but he got beat pretty bad against Notre Dame. That's a guy who's got to get better, and he'll be in year 3 next year. He was a 5-star offensive tackle, played some at right tackle as well. So you could see Ernest Green at left, Monroe Freeling at right. They both played both spots, so you could switch them. At the end of the day, you'd like to see a consistent 5 in there, but those are 4 guys. Drew Bobo at center, Micah Morris at guard, Ernest Green at 1 tackle spot, Monroe Freeling at another tackle spot. And again, Freeling played in all 13 games last season and made 4 starts. So you do have 4 guys at least who have seen the field, have played in big moments, in big games, who are coming back next year. So it's not a complete overhaul in the offensive line, but you will have new starters, but those guys have played before. But after that, who's the 5th guy? Who's the 6th guy? The first guy off the bench? Who are the backups? Let's dig into that too. In the 23 class, so guys who will be juniors this upcoming fall, Bo Hewley was a long, lean left tackle, or I guess right tackle, one of them out of Langston Hughes, who's a pretty good prospect. And then Jamal Merriweather, who is another tall, kind of leaner offensive lineman out of high school. I think they're both probably at the 300-pound level now, but I think they're both tackles. Both will be in their third year in 2025. So guys to keep an eye on. From the 24 class, guys who will be a sophomore next year. They were freshmen this past fall. My guy, Daniel Calhoun, was the highest ranked offensive lineman they signed in that 24 class. He played out of Walton. Saw him a ton over his high school career. Big kid now. He's got to continue to work on his body, transform his body a little bit, but I think he has the potential to take on one of those guard starting spots this year and really start to thrive and be a possible multi-year starter. He works hard. He's big. He's physical. Played a lot of tackle at high school. I think they slide him inside. But maybe he gets a look at tackle as well, depending on how his body looks and how he's training. But they have a great strength and conditioning nutrition program at Georgia. And a lot of these guys in that 24 class, you got to remember, they were big. They were big dogs, big pups, right? And they came in, all of them basically having to lose weight. And I think Daniel Calhoun's done a good job of that, through 1 year in Athens. Michael Uini is a tackle, again, who could slide in and play some guard. He was out of Texas, again, big 6'7", 335-pound dude, just a mauler, right? Marquise Easley, another tackle that could slide into guard, another 6'5", 6'6", 340 type, but moves really well, can come around and pull in the run game. Did that a lot in high school and just find a linebacker, just trucking them, just picking them up and just bulldozing them out of the way. His tape from high school is fun to watch. I have high expectations for him, but it's up to these guys to get the job done. The opportunity is there to climb the depth chart for a lot of these guys in that 24 class. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds this spring. Nair Daniels, another massive dude. He was from New Jersey. Came in at like 370, 380, something like that. Big old kid. He's got to tighten it up. Take some of that weight off and transform his body. If he does that, maybe he can start to see the field. Marcus Harrison is a 3-star kid from, I think, Buffalo, somewhere up in New York. Just big old polar bear looking dude. He's like 6'7", 6'8", like 340. I mean, these are big dudes. And I saw him walking around pregame prior to the Sugar Bowl, and I'm thinking, that's a big guy. I mean, that guy, you put pads on that dude's frame right there, good luck getting around him. Good luck getting by him. He is a mean, nasty offensive lineman who is just taking souls up there in, I think, New York. Yeah, it was in New York. Up there in the snow, he was just mauling dudes. So he's an under-the-radar lineman who I think has the potential to really surprise a lot of people. At the same time, he's got to get it done. He's got to beat Nair Daniels in practice. He's got to beat Marcus Easley. He's got to beat Michael Uini. And Jazeer Jackson, a 6'10", 350-pounder that they brought in over the summer. Basketball star that, Stacey Searles, Kirby Smart said, hey, we put a helmet on this kid. We put some pads on him. He could be a nice little tackle for us. Got to teach him how to play football, but this kid with some pads on might be something special. So they brought him in this summer. They're really high on him. So another guy with size who they just have to develop. And if you're a Georgia fan, I know you're saying right now, well, this staff isn't developing the guys the way maybe Sam Pittman and I guess Matt Luke did. But, it's up to the staff to take these kids, these big, massive, raw, but talented kids and turn them into impact offensive linemen. Even with all those experienced veterans, Georgia had trouble running the football. Carson Beck was getting sacked too many times. Gunnar Stockton got sacked more times than he needed to against Notre Dame. So, I understand the skepticism of, hey, you have all these experienced veterans on the offensive line. I felt like they took a step back from last year and a step back from 2022 and 2021. And you're looking, you're thinking, where's Andrew Thomas? Where's the Jamari Sawyer? Where's the Broderick Jones? Where's the Amarius Mims? I don't know if they've got an elite tackle on this roster. I don't know if they've got an elite guard on this roster. I don't know if they've got a center like Cedric Van Pram. But it's up to the players to get to their potential, and they need the coach's help. But there's a lot of guys, and there's a good group in the 25 class too that I'll talk about, down the road. But there's a lot of big, talented kids who have to continue to develop and work and perfect their craft as an offensive lineman from a technical standpoint, fundamental standpoint. These are big kids, but if they learn the position I think a lot of them have the potential to be pretty good players. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of Georgia fans are not happy with Stacey Searles and the offensive line play in 2024. Totally get that. It's got to get better. There's no doubt about it. Georgia cannot win a national championship unless the offensive line play gets better. I mean, that's just a fact. And so, you know that and you understand it. And you also understand that they're going to be starting at least 4 new guys, right? So we'll see where they go if I can get my words out. But at the end of the day, we're going to be talking about this subject all throughout the offseason because you have to have a good offensive line if you're going to have a good season. And at Georgia, where the standard is excellence and being elite and winning championships, you have to have a championship caliber offensive line to get that done. Do they have one? We're going to talk about it over the next 9 months, but want to give a quick little preview, right? Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I'll see you over on the website.